Last week, an outbreak in salmonella sickened almost 400 Americans in 42 states, and officials are still looking for answers. An open 5-pound tub of peanut butter tested positive for salmonella bacteria, prompting its distributor, King Nut Companies, to voluntarily recall 2 brands of peanut butter over the weekend. The peanut butter was distributed only through food service providers and was not sold directly to consumers. The salmonella detected in the open tub has not been officially linked to the national outbreak yet. And joining us today to explain about salmonella is Dr. William Schaffner. He's professor and chair of the Department of Preventive Medicine at Vanderbilt University. Welcome.
Hi, Jacques. Good to be with you.
Well, salmonella, to me, as a physician, I always remember eggs and chicken, and I didn't know about peanut butter. First of all, what is salmonella, and how does it get in peanut butter?
Well, salmonella is a bacteria that is present in a whole variety of foods, and increasingly we're recognizing that not only meat and chicken, but also vegetables of various kinds can be sources of salmonella. It gets into our intestinal tract, and that's where it causes its mischief. It can cause a very nasty kind of diarrhea, principally.
Right, and can it cause death?
Well, it can in the very young, infants and young children, for example, older people and people who are immunocompromised or have had some surgery on their intestinal tract. The salmonella can leave the intestinal tract, get into the bloodstream, and those are the more serious infections.
Okay, and in this case here, viewers have been warned, wash your hands after cutting chicken, use an antibacterial board, cook your eggs through, but peanut butter, and don't forget who's eating the peanut butter is usually younger kids. How is a mother or a father out there watching supposed to protect their kid against a jar of peanut butter?
Well, at the moment, just watch those brand names, and they're now being withdrawn, the implicated products. You know, the peanuts probably got infected in the soil from fertilizer, and then they're washed thoroughly and blanched, but there's no real sterilization step when peanut butter is produced. And I'll bet, I'm speculating now, that a small number of salmonella got into this peanut butter and just kind of sat there. And then when we eat these small numbers, since peanut butter is very fatty, those bacteria are protected from the stomach acid that normally kills the bacteria. And so the bacteria get through the stomach safely and then down into our colons, and that's when they set up the diarrhea.
Okay, and we're hearing more about foodborne infections. The question I have for you is our food supply safer than it's ever been, or is it not safe? And if it is safe, is it possibly that we're having better monitoring and more media and things that in the past may not have made these outbreaks well known?
Yeah, Jock, you're right on the mark. We have the safest food supply in the world, and in addition to that, we're now getting vastly more sophisticated in detecting outbreaks of foodborne disease. And once detected, they're investigated, and if they're investigated, they show up in the media, so we know more about them. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay, and if somebody does get the salmonella bacteria and starts getting symptoms, are there antibiotics or are there treatments that can lessen them or cure them?
Well, this gets a little bit more complicated. Simple, uncomplicated salmonella infection of the intestinal tract does not respond very well to antibiotics. However, among the very young, the very old, and others who are predisposed to serious illness, we would give those people antibiotics as well as symptomatic treatment. So good symptomatic treatment and selective antibiotic therapy.
Okay, and you're in charge of preventative medicine. Let's go through a couple preventative things. I mean, peanut butter, you know, I think you're kind of out of luck if it's in the peanut butter, but some things that viewers can decrease their chance of getting salmonella.
Number one, cook all your hamburger meat very, very thoroughly. When you're preparing food, wash your hands thoroughly. Make sure that the cutting board is washed after you have used it on raw materials, and then if you wish to use the cutting board again with cooked materials, make sure you wash it before you do that.
Right, that's a good point also. And the other thing is, in the old days, and that could be when I was around, was it that we were exposed to salmonella frequently and developed antibodies against it? Is the reason that we're getting such symptoms from this is because we're not exposed to bacteria like this very often, because the food supply, like you said, did get safer?
It's clearly a very safe food supply, so when we get exposed to salmonella, we're likely to become ill. And we're in a new era now in which we have nationally distributed products. We used to raise our food locally, so the food that, if it got contaminated, was constrained in a local place. Now we have nationally and even internationally distributed food, so as in this outbreak, 42 states involved. You can see when we have a nationally distributed product, public health agencies have to collaborate across states and with the CDC to track it down.
Right. Dr. Shafter, thank you so much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure.